Okay. Something that I usually do before I do like a coaching session with people is I give them a bunch of questions. Not a bunch, but a series of
Yeah.
questions. Um, so let me just like put that in the chat. You guys don't have to like you don't have to type up answers like that, but just
Well, you don't want an essay or anything?
I mean, some people have given me essays for sure, every single question, but I just kind of want to get a sense of like where you guys are at, what you're interested
Yeah,
in
for sure.
learning, and that kind of stuff. So just look them over and let me know. Just a few words.
Sure.
Okay.
And you don't have to type it; you can just speak.
Oh, okay. Okay. You want to go first, Matt?
Sure. Okay, so I don't know. We usually play like a 4 and 3 kind of thing. I'm usually the 4. Motivation for getting better. I don't know. I'm just kind of like the person who, like, when I do something, I want to do it as best as I can and constantly get better at it, kind of thing. How much Dota do we play a week? Probably like a couple games a night, kind of thing.
Yeah, probably 2 games a night usually. 5 days.
Strongest points as a player. I mean, like, I watch a lot of videos and stuff like that, so I know a lot about, like, well, I don't know too much about the meta, but at least I think above average for my skill level. And weaknesses, probably a lot of the times, like, I panic and then things just blow up.
Okay.
I like miss like if I was Abaddon and I missed some like key dream or death coils and it was pretty bad. Goals from coaching session. I don't know, like just like tangible things that I can work on, like, and then like parts of the game when like we need to do things. So sometimes like we feel kind of lost at certain points in the game. Like we picked replays where that happened, so maybe get some clarity on that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah, a lot of that is the same for me. I usually play the off lane. My motivation. Yeah, we play a lot of Dota, and I find that I am not getting better at all. So
Okay.
it would be nice to know what it is that I'm not doing in order to get better.
Just some like operable things to work on, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like things that maybe practice or even just general concepts to learn about.
Okay.
Yeah, and most of the other things are the same.
Cool. And what rank are you guys, or do you play ranked or do you play unranked, or?
We've been playing ranked. Oh, sorry.
And Jesus. Yeah, so I'm Archon 5, he's Archon 4.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So yeah, do you have any like general questions about Dota, meta, anything like that before we hop into a replay? Like, are there any sort of burning questions about the game that you'd like answered?
Yes, actually. So for picking, usually like I just pick first kind of thing. It's like it's supposed to be like the supports, right, and then the off lane, and then the two, like, you know, mid and carry, right?
Yeah,
so,
generally
like,
speaking.
How do we actually like because like there's a whole like counter picking and stuff like that. How can we really counter pick when like we're one of the first ones picking?
You can't. But what you can do is you can, like, it sounds like basically you pretty much just play together and you play a lane together every time, right? Like
that's usually what we
you
do,
both go to the off lane, and so
yeah.
What you can do if you're picking first, and I mean I think that's totally good that you're picking like the 4 and the 3 first. That lets your other players, you know, kind of figure out what they want to do based on what they already have. And I would say that the 3 and 4 kind of, at least in like the professional scene and high level pubs, have really kind of been like the cornerstones of a lot of drafts over the last maybe 2 years. So for a while there, we were seeing lots of like Sand King and Leshrac, and like Axe and Skywrath Mage, and like Centaur plus Wind Ranger, that kind of stuff. And so if you're picking early in the draft, basically what you want to do is you want to just get like the strongest possible lane together, because you know, even if you do, let's say you were to pick something like an Axe plus, I don't know, Axe is good with like anything right now, but let's say you were to pick like Axe plus Winter Wyvern, or Axe plus, I mean, Skywrath Mage. That was a really popular one a while ago. So what are they going to do? Maybe they're going to pick like an Ursa to counter the Axe. Maybe they're going to pick a Monkey King to counter the Axe. But at the same time, like, that lane is just so strong that if you play it correctly, it's going to beat basically any lane, just because there's so much damage that comes out. Maybe you can't just like stand on the wave and spin the wave against an Ursa or a Monkey King as an Axe. Maybe you have to play a little bit more kind of back and like pulling the creeps with creep aggro and just kind of harassing them and chipping them down with, you know, your Skywrath Mage plus your Battle Hunger. And then when they get low, then you can get aggressive on them. Or you could even just have the Skywrath Mage like hitting the person with Arcane Bolts over and over, and then the Axe just goes and cuts the wave at like the tier 2 and just farms the jungle camps there, plus the creep wave every time, and makes the carry have to just tank his own creeps under the tower. And so there's like a lot of ways that you can kind of get around the fact that you have to pick early. Like if you get counterpicked, there's always ways to counterplay the counterpick, I would say.
Interesting.
And so, you know, it's not really that big of a deal if you can't counterpick. Obviously, if you can counterpick, do that, because it's like, you know, one of the easiest ways to win games, but it's not always feasible in every single draft. And so you just kind of have to sometimes be a little bit more creative with how you approach the game than just like me Axe, me run at people, you know?
Right.
Okay. So yeah, just be like picking like a wombo combo we're kind of good at kind of thing, and then just play it accordingly.
Yeah, so I would say that, like, based on the drafting, I don't know, what are some of your favorite heroes, I guess, would be a good place to start.
I love playing Bristleback.
Okay.
And Darkseer.
I like a lot of things, but probably Abaddon's my favorite. Like, we do a Bristle Abaddon thing. Like, we haven't done it in a while, but before it was pretty effective. We won a lot of games in a row kind of thing.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we just went on these streaks where we're getting like 5, 6, 7 wins in a row, and we just kept doing that. And it was good, but at the same time,
we got bored.
We got bored, and then we didn't know how to. We were at too high a rank at that point.
For sure.
And then we came all the way down because we were figuring other things at that point. So
that's the standard cycle for people. They find something that works, they play it to death, they get bored of it, then they start picking random shit that they never practiced, and they lose all of their matches.
Yeah.
But okay, so if we were to look at that lane, basically you have, I would say, what is essentially like a sustaining lane, right? You've got the Abaddon who can, you know, save the Bristleback, and he kind of plays like a backliner and heals the Bristleback, and the Bristle just tanks a bunch of damage and outputs his own damage. And that's like a pretty decent combo for that. It's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best, because 2 melee heroes in a lane is often kind of rough to deal with.
Right.
Like if they had, I don't know, something like a Monkey King plus a Winter Wyvern, I'm going back to those two, or like a Monkey King plus a Witch Doctor, you guys would get totally dumpstered, I feel like, if they played that correctly. But that kind of sustaining lane has a lot of different options. So if you want to play a sustaining lane, maybe you pick something like the Bristleback's fine. You could pair it with a Warlock. You could pair it with a Witch Doctor, a Winter Wyvern, what else? What other? An Oracle, a Dazzle. Like, all these things would work with that Bristleback. You could substitute the Bristleback for something like a Centaur, or something like a Doom, a Underlord, Wraith King, Lycan even. You know, just one of these like very tanky, kind of either reduces the damage that enemies do, or has very good innate sustain and then you pair that with another sustaining hero, and you basically become unkillable.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And that kind of lane is really good against lanes that are harassing you. So let's say there's like a silencer support or a phoenix support, you know, somebody that basically just like spams damage out, but they will eventually run out of mana.
Right.
So if you can just kind of like, you know, if you're a warlock and you show up to lane with like 4 clarities, and you're facing a Skyrath mage plus a Phantom Lancer, something like that, you know, 2 heroes that basically just throw their nukes at you constantly, then you just kind of wait it out. You don't play super aggressive. You just like keep healing your core, keep yourself up, topped up, you know, maybe do the side pull and lane and stuff like that. And you can basically just outlast their damage.
Gotcha.
So that's one type of lane. And then another type of lane, and probably the more fun type of lane for you guys, is like the killing lane.
Okay.
And that's something like the Leshrac Sand King that I was talking about, where basically the Sand King sets up the Leshrac stun, so you get 1 stun, then the Leshrac stuns on top of that, and by the end of those 2 stuns, the person's at like 25% HP or lower.
Right.
And both of those stuns are, you know, maybe 8 to 10 second cooldown, so you can just do that over and over and over anytime somebody's remotely out of position.
Gotcha.
And that creates a ton of pressure on other people. You know, other options for that, even something like a Vengeful Spirit plus a Nyx Assassin would work like that. And you kind of see the pattern, right? There's like an unreliable stun, but then a reliable stun that sets it up. You could even do something like a Sven plus Pudge if you wanted to. The Sven stuns and then Pudge hooks.
Okay, interesting.
Or like, obviously Bane Marana is a very popular one in the professional scene, because you just sleep into arrow and it's like guaranteed 5-second arrow. Destroys people. So killing lanes generally beat sustaining lanes. So if you're against like a Spectre Warlock, then if you have like a killing lane like that, then you can just kill them over and over, because you do enough burst damage to get through the harass, or get through the healing. And so yeah, like I would say kind of try and stay in one of those 2 molds, maybe.
Okay.
And one other one that I guess you could go with is like a pushing lane. If you were to pick like a Pugna plus, I don't know, Venomancer or something that just or Underlord, or basically somebody that can like push the wave up. Okay. Just by like blasting the wave over and over. So you could do this with like a offlane Zeus, offlane Pugna.
Oh, interesting.
Offlane Underlord, and then you pair that with a hero that's very good at diving, like an Undying, or an Elder Titan, or a Tusk, or a Phoenix, or something like that. And then you just like you shove the wave in. They're stuck under tower. They have no creeps, and then you just run at them with your creeps plus your heroes, and that you can create a lot of pressure on weaker lanes like that as well.
Interesting.
Would the goal be to kill the tower there, or to get kills?
Whatever you can. I mean, if you're playing a lane like that, you have to be a little bit careful just diving too much. But I mean, if you're playing a Pugna, your goal is basically just take the tower as soon as possible, so that you can go take the next tower as soon as possible. Like that's pretty much how that hero works. But I don't know, like in those kind of scenarios, you can really just kind of steamroll games and really make the carry's life complete hell.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options that you can run with dual lanes.
No, that's interesting. I think just having those options, like more of a pool instead of a dedicated hero that we always go to, is probably just a better way to play in general.
Certainly more entertaining, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, hero comfort is super important. Like, I mean, I still have my 5 or 6 go-to heroes that I don't know what I want to pick. I guess I'm just gonna pick this hero. But there are a lot of similarities between heroes. Obviously, no hero is exactly the same, but if you are playing something like an offlane Dragon Knight, it functions essentially the same as like an offlane Sven or an offlane Chaos Knight or an offlane Wraith King, or something like that, where it's basically like you're kind of this big body melee that has a stun that can set up other stuff. Those heroes all play relatively similar in the laning stage. So you can kind of like expand your hero pool to things that fit the play style that you enjoy playing. So if you like playing Bristleback, maybe you play a Necrophos, who essentially does kind of the same thing, but also happens to be range, which is kind of nice if you're playing against somebody that's, you know, like an Ursa. Against melee heroes.
No, that makes sense.
Cool.
So
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, drafting creativity is like I think one of the more interesting and fun parts of the game, but it also just requires, you know, like being willing to probably be uncomfortable for a few games at a time.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, anytime you do pick a new hero, chances are you probably won't be as good as you were previously on your best hero, and sometimes that can be a frustrating experience because you're like, well, we were winning and losing sucks, but there's always like a little bit of a growing pains process that you have to deal with.
Of course.
Like one thing we were playing, I think it's in one of our replays as well, was Monkey King and Treant Protector.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're laning against. I can see that, you know, destroying one of those sustain lanes pretty hard. You got 2 slows potentially, or 3. You got 2 stuns, you got 2 slows, you got a lot of base damage. But again, if you're against like an Ursa or Necrophos, you're going to be in trouble just because those heroes destroy melee heroes.
And then since that's like Ursa and Necro is kind of like the meta right now, should we refrain from picking that first kind of thing, or?
Not necessarily. Again, you could just approach the game slightly differently, but that's definitely a lane that you kind of want to pressure. I would say though, if you're playing Monkey King and you're against an Ursa, you have a higher movement speed and attack range, so you kind of abuse that a little bit, but you'd have to play very sort of like footsie with the Ursa a little bit, you know, like poke him a little bit, don't take fury swipes, and then once you get your Jingu stacks, then you can just man up and kill him. Whereas, you know, against somebody like, I don't know, a Slark, you could just run them entirely.
Right.
Okay.
So should we get into a replay?
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So we have 3 of them set up in order of, I think, the most important. Well, like the first one, like there was a point where we had no idea what to do, and we'll tell you when that is. It's basically when like the tier 1 fell. Okay. Like we were doing well, and I think we got wrecked at some point, and yeah, it was pretty bad. We threw pretty hard.
I find that's a common occurrence that we have, where we take the tier 1 and then
not sure what to do after that.
I'm kind of just like moving around the map, jumping between lanes. I'll find I'm under leveled at a little bit later, and I'm just not sure really how to play it, and that's maybe just a knowledge thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where you have a very set goal in the laning stage, right? It's like, okay, I have this tower that I need to take. And then once you get done with the tower, it's kind of like there's so many options that you could now employ that it's sort of hard to figure out which is the correct one.
Of course.
So yeah, I mean, that's definitely game specific, but we can definitely go over this and see what we see. So I'm gonna turn on screen share.
Okay.
Let me know if both of you guys can see this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That should be good.
Okay. Cool. So we'll go ahead, hop into this, and real quick look at what you guys have. First thing I would just say right off the bat is you guys should this mount on the bed is ugly. All right, sorry. First thing I would say is that you guys probably should have more regen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Especially the bristle.
Okay.
I would say you don't need the branches to start out.
Okay.
You know, that gives you 2 damage and like 60 health and 0.3, 0.4 armor, something like that. But you could replace these with another set of tangos, which gives you, you know, if you do the math, ends up being, what is 7 times 16 times 3?
Yeah.
A lot more health.
A lot more, yeah.
Basically over the course of the laning stage. And especially because of the types of heroes that you're playing, you know, both of these heroes are very kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what term I'm looking for, but like they just want to be like blobs in the lane. Like they just want to take up space in the lane. They want to just sit in the lane and like be immovable objects. And the best way to do that is to simply have more regen than your.
Right.
So if you see the Shadow Demon, right, he has 2 tangos and he has a wand. So, you know, this guy has 5 tangos. Now, if you had 6 tangos and Abaddon had 6 tangos,
yeah,
then you guys would have 12 tangos between you versus, you know, a total of like 7. And after that first exchange, now this guy only has 4 tangos. This guy has 1 tango. So you would have 12 tangos against their total of 4 tangos and 2 wands. That is like a massive amount of HP advantage over the course of the next 5 or 10.
Okay, interesting.
So that's like the very first thing that I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Also on Bristleback, I think that the best build for pretty much every kind of like tanky offlaner is you just go you go Stout Shield, 6 tangos, 3 mangoes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that the mangoes, of course, give you a slight amount of HP regen, which is actually amplified by the fact that Bristleback reduces damage. So, like any HP regen that Bristleback has becomes exponentially more valuable because you're taking less damage all the time.
Right.
And then when you factor in that Abaddon is here too, and he can also stop, you know, a ton of damage, like. If you had 2 more mangoes, you're getting an additional like 1 HP per second, which allows you to gain, you know, 100 HP over the next 100 seconds, and that just continues to keep you topped up. And you can see here that like you have no regen left, and this is not a good spot to be in as a Bristleback,
right? Because
you want to be in their face the whole time, and right now you're kind of close to like kill threshold where you have to be very careful with your positioning. So, just the fact that you don't have enough regen to start the lane actually makes you unable to play this lane how you want to.
Okay. Well, that makes total sense. I feel like I've been playing it wrong the entire time, which is great to know. That's awesome.
Quick question.
Sure.
What would be a good ward place for like off lane? Like I picked it right where it blocks the camp, and that's kind of bait, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
So this really depends on what kind of lane you're playing, as most things do in Dota, right? This depends. So I think that this ward is probably not that good for this lane.
Okay.
It's good for certain lanes. It's good if you are facing a lane that is probably stronger than you, because this blocks them and their ability to do the pull through so that they can't deny you a bunch of experience. And basically are you familiar with like how the pulling works and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So essentially what would happen is that they push out the wave, the Juggernaut pushes the wave up, then the Shadow Demon comes over here and he pulls the creeps, and then he pulls through to this camp.
Okay.
But because you are an Abaddon plus Bristleback, you are probably stronger than them in lane. So chances are you're actually going to be pushing the lane into them, especially just because of how Bristleback works, where you're hitting everything, right? So that means that the wave is going to be, or should be, going this way most of the time, which means that this actually kind of screws you over because if you're in a position to push the wave forward, like, again, a hero like a Necrophos or a Pugna, they just constantly push the wave forward because they hit all of the units all the time. It's like impossible for them to not push the wave. And as a result, that means that the creep wave is meeting like right here. And that is a very safe space for the carry to be farming in, right? This is where they want the creep wave to be.
Okay.
Like, just because it's way safer to be right in front of your tower.
Of course,
as a carry to be last hitting. So what you can do then is if the wave is pushed up to right here, then the support can come over here and pull this creep wave here. Pause this for a sec. Pull this creep wave to right here, which will then catch this creep wave and pull the creeps into this camp. And then your creeps get denied by the big creeps here. Your support ends up getting some free farm here. And then their creep wave has no creeps to meet, so it ends up meeting you up here, and you end up getting the wave in front of your tower instead of their tower.
Okay.
Which makes it way safer for you.
Okay, because I knew about like, you know, pulling through and stuff like that, but I didn't know you can pull that camp to the lane effectively. Like, is there like a specific timing? Is it hard to get, or is it kind of easy?
It's actually quite easy to get. I don't know the exact specific time. I don't do it based off of the clock. I do it based off of the creep location. So
okay. Yeah, of course.
Once the creeps are like basically right at your tower, that's when you would aggro the camp.
Okay.
And this works also for the Radiant side. Once the creeps are like basically right at your tower, maybe like right in front of the tower, then you aggro this camp. And then you just walk it all the way over to like right about here or right about here. And the leash for this camp will un-aggro the creeps right around this location. So what you have to do is basically like as you get to here, your creeps will be like right about where they are now. Kind of have to just like turn back into the camp real quick, and it will hit you, and then all of your creeps will aggro onto that because they try to protect you from whatever's attacking you, and then they'll follow the camp back into this.
Okay. And so in an aggressive lane, do I put like a ward behind the tower kind of thing, or somewhere else?
Yeah, I like putting a ward maybe like if you feel like you're gonna be pushing their wave under tower the whole time, I think that a ward like right here is pretty good.
Okay.
Because you can see them, you know, you can see maybe rotations coming in from the shrine. You can see people TPing and maybe the other support TPs in to try and reinforce their safe lane. Also, this ward would give you vision of rune. Another option is put a ward right here, which blocks this camp. Gives you vision of the rune, also of the shrine. Or if you really feel like you're just in like a completely safe lane, like you have a much stronger lane than they do, you can just simply put the ward over here and give your mid player vision of the rune and any rotations coming.
Okay.
I actually don't really think that the off lane needs a ward right now. I think that the only place that really needs a ward is the mid lane. But you know, like it's not bad to have vision for sure.
Okay. Right. Do you think I should just pull it to the mid instead? Do you think that'll be more effective?
Again, it depends on the game. That's going to be a very common answer. But I don't know. When I play support, I play a lot of support, and I think in pubs, I think that offlaning, I would basically just make a decision. Do we have a strong enough lane to dominate this lane? If yes, then we don't need a ward. If no, then go ahead, take the ward, either block a camp or get yourself some vision that allows you to win the lane. So, you know, I'm sure you play against a lot of pudges, right? Everybody picks pudge.
Yeah.
One thing that you can do is you can literally ward like right here, just on the other side of this tree. It's going to give you vision of like the entire underneath the tower area. Or you can run through these trees over here and you can place a ward like right here. Again, going to give you all the vision underneath their tower. So if there's a pudge trying to support their carry, they're going to always be hiding here, going to be hiding here, trying to hook you under tower, maybe hiding here, and you're going to be able to see exactly where they are, which means you can play perfectly and never get hooked.
Okay. Well, that's ideally. We'll probably still get hooked for that.
Right. Right. But
okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fine word. I just don't think it's very optimal for the lane that you're currently.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Sorry for that tangent, but that helped a lot.
No, that's totally fine. I mean, dude, like the first ward can literally win you the lane based on where it's put. So
Okay.
that's
Interesting.
more than acceptable to talk about warding for a while. But okay, so let's go ahead and take stock of this lane right now. So this guy has 9-2 last hits. You have 4-0, and Abaddon is 2, probably from shield exploding. So Jug's not really feeling that pressured right now, despite he has no Quelling Blade. Or, sorry, no Stout Shield. That's one thing I would definitely note about this guy. He has no Stout Shield, which means that he takes full damage from creeps. Which kind of makes pushing the lane under tower more effective, right? Because he's going to have to tank the creeps. And he has no Stout Shield to do so. So if you notice that and a lot of people do this at your MMR, is they'll buy a Quelling Blade first. And Quelling Blade first makes no sense because you can just buy it from this shop.
Interesting. Okay.
So because he doesn't have a Stout Shield, he's going to take a lot of extra damage, which means that you should really just be shoving this wave into his face, making him tank the creeps under the tower, and then you can decide whether you want to dive him, which, I mean, your heroes are built for diving, so you probably just do that over and over, or you can just pull this camp and get a huge EXP advantage because he's getting like half as many creep waves as he should be.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just kind of speed through this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, you could probably be more aggressive
Okay.
than you're being right now. It seems like they're actually kind of being like the aggressors on you guys.
Yeah.
But, like your hero is built to be aggressive. So if you just kind of identify, okay, who has the least amount of regen? Basically, this is how I play offlane. I identify who has the least amount of regen, and then I just run at that hero until they have no regen left. And then I run at them until they have no HP left, and then they have to leave the lane, which allows me to have a 2-on-1 against whoever's left in the lane.
Okay.
Okay. No, that's okay. Makes sense.
So, like, right now, for example, okay, so this Juggernaut is going to go back here. He's going to heal up. He's going to try and farm this creep wave. So that means Shadow Demon's going to be over here. Now, if you guys just come over here and you just run at the Shadow Demon, the Juggernaut has to make a choice. Do I go help my friend, or do I miss all of these creeps?
Right. Okay.
And generally speaking, they're probably going to go help their friend, just because people like to fight in the game more than anything else, probably, which is good because that means he's missing a bunch of last hits and he's going to have low net worth. But if he does opt to just farm, which is the correct decision, then you end up just harassing the Shadow Demon out of lane, and now you have a 2-on-1 against the Juggernaut until the Shadow Demon comes back, which could be anywhere from like 15 seconds to like a minute, which allows you to really heavily pressure him because 1 against 2 at that point.
Okay, so when I play Abaddon a lot, like I kind of tend to sit back more, and because like I kind of value my health as like mana kind of thing, like to heal.
Right.
Should I be more aggressive? Like the hero's pretty tanky, right? I tend to just sit back a lot, right?
So Abaddon really doesn't actually have that much armor. He only has 1. It means he's actually not that tanky. He's only tanky when he has a Aphotic Shield up.
Okay.
So I think based on the way that you're playing, like, I'm used to playing Abaddon as like a frontliner because I play him off lane as opposed to support.
Okay.
But if you're playing support Abaddon, I think that kind of what you're doing is fine. You also remember that you have a fast movement speed, 313 versus if you look at Jug, 302, 298. So you're actually the fastest hero in this lane. So if you want to just run up and hit this guy, you can totally do that because you can actually just run up to him and hit him.
Yeah.
And I actually think that in this lane in particular, if you were to go something like an early Orb of Venom and get an early point in Curse of Avernus, you could probably
for the slow. Okay.
Yeah, because then it would stack the slows. You'd have Orb of Venom slow, and you'd have Curse of Avernus slow, and then you have Bristleback. I mean, sure, you could even get an early point in Goo, and you could literally just run down any hero because they would not be able to run all.
Interesting.
So I don't know. It's kind of interesting because in that sense, both of you would just have to play way more aggressive than you're playing right now. Which might actually just make you feed, depending on how you play it and like how you know your limits.
Right.
So that's just another way to play the lane. Like playing defensively is fine, and what you're doing is fine. And if you're gonna play defensively, then I think what you're doing is totally acceptable. Where like you basically kind of sit back, you wait for them to go on the Bristleback, and then you Aphotic Shield him and save him. You just do that over and over and over. At the same time, you can see that Juggernaut has the most farm in the game because he's not really feeling that pressured because him and Shadow Demon are basically being the aggressors on you all the time.
Right.
So if you were to play more aggressively, then maybe he only has like 15 last hits like you're safe lane. I guess Void has 20, but you know, it's just another way to approach the laning stage.
Sure.
And I personally feel like aggression is always better.
Okay.
Just because it allows you to actually like force them to do things. Instead of playing reactively, you play actively and make them play reactively, which, you know, it's like, I don't know if you guys have played sports or like if you're big sports people or whatever, but like, you know, like tennis, for example, right? If you're ahead in tennis, you want to be like making the shot. You want to hit it down the line to make the person move, so then they're out of position for your return shot next. Or like football, right? There's some sort of aggression that happens. Maybe you set up the pass by running really hard at people, so then they have to like put more people in the box to stop the run, and then you throw because there's less people defending the pass. So I just personally think that aggression is always better.
Sure.
You like that you're prioritizing the runes. That's good. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this kind of comes back to the regen thing. Like if you just have more, maybe just having more regen will allow you to play more aggressively.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe this game was probably a prime example of how what I bought at the very beginning
like totally affects
hurting me. Exactly.
Because like if you have 6 tangos, I mean, you probably still have tangos left. Like if you have 6 tangos because you have an Abaddon healing you, and if you have 3 mangoes, then you're able to just, you know, freely use Quill Spray like off cooldown, which pressures the Juggernaut more, which pushes the lane more, which makes him damage, makes him get less last hits. So it's kind of a snowball effect just based off your item purchases at the beginning of the game.
That's wild. And it's funny because that build that I chose this game is basically how I almost don't even think. That's what I buy. So.
Right. Do you guys use like an in-game guide from somebody, or you
Yeah.
Like I modify some of them a little bit, but mostly just in-game guides kind of thing.
I'm pretty bad for just following the guide to a fault.
That's fine. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like that was one thing because I used to work. I don't know if you ever heard of the company PVGNA or Pugna.
Okay.
But I used to work for them doing this same sort of thing that I'm doing with Dota Alchemy as far as making educational videos. And when I first started making, because I made in-game guides like I don't know if you use like the Tort Delaney guides or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah, that's what I use.
But I made in-game guides for all of the heroes. And one of the first things that I really noticed is just like, just need more regen. Everybody just needs more regen, and more so in pubs than any other thing. Like a lot of the people in professional scene will, you know, the support will show up to lane with like boots and like 6 clarities or something like that, and that's it.
Right.
And you're like, how can they get away with this? And the answer is because they're playing like in a very specific way based on their regen. But in pubs, most people you know, it's like enough for them to just kind of like, you know, be getting creeps and be in the lane and not die. And to do that, I think the best way is just to simply have more regen than the other people. Because generally speaking, most laning stages in pubs go longer than they do in the professional scene because people are less willing to rotate.
No, that makes sense.
Good, just being aggressive. Getting that. I think that you can probably just use your wand if you want to right now. And
Okay.
get back up to full HP and mana pretty much, and then continue to pressure him. I mean, he has 20 as well. So this is kind of, at this point, the thing is now, at this point, this lane is kind of just a stalemate because you guys don't really have that much kill potential anymore. You know, he's got level 3 Finn, he's got his healing ward, this guy's level 4. It might actually be more dangerous for you guys now based on the levels, but earlier on, this is definitely a lane that you could have completely run over. Just having more, I think. But let's go ahead and hop forward to when you take the tower.
No, I'm worried. I hope this is the one where we take the tower.
Well, there's a catapult. So, okay. So, I always think it's interesting to look at when people die. A good reason. Okay, so. Sorry, if we're going too slow, feel free to let me know.
No.
This is great.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give you guys too dense of information.
That was great.
No, that's great, yeah.
Cover enough stuff, but okay, so you go for a little bit of a dive, tank the tower a few times. I mean, it does kind of seem like there's, you know, there is just farm sitting over here. I'm not really sure why you guys are just buying the tower. Maybe because they're low and you're like, okay, well, we can be aggressive. Looks like you put a ward down here. Try and be a little bit more aggressive. This guy used Omni Slash, I guess, and didn't get a kill. So now you're kind of running at him. You get caught out of position. Looks like without a photic shield.
I think it should, yeah.
Okay, so you shielded Bristle, who was not actually in danger at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up tanking the Blade Fury, which gets killed. Juggernaut is a fun hero with a fun healing ward. He gets away as well. Okay, so yeah. And then let's see. Come back because the runes are up. Fortunately, you get that one, but you trade runes. And then you go ahead and head to the mid lane.
I guess maybe it was a stupid idea in hindsight because the Morphling was super low.
Yeah, I mean, and how do you kill him? Like,
yeah, true.
You don't even have your slow. You have no detection. Morphling, he doesn't even have adaptive strike. He went waveform, which is incorrect build anyway. But if you just look at, like, you guys have maybe a total of like 400 nuke damage, and then you'd have to land like 12, 15 auto attacks before this guy goes invisible to actually kill him.
Yeah.
So that rotation was never going to get you a kill ever.
Okay.
And as a result, your buddy,
your
best Dota friend, gets killed in the bottom lane because you're not there to save him. So you go, you play some wards. Fortunately, he has.
I guess they.
But
told you we weren't that good.
No. I mean, it's totally fine. It's just the thing is, like, when you're in a game, you do a bunch of stuff because it's instinct or impulse or reactionary. Yeah. And then when you're looking at a replay, it's very easy to just like pick out every single possible.
Sure.
Because you have, like, you know, global vision. Like, I have no idea what you could actually see in this game because we have free camera on. But go to actually player perspective, I'm sure that the game looks significantly different, right? You know, it's all dark. So it's a way different thing to look at it from the replay perspective versus actually. So don't be embarrassed. Like when I look at my replays, I find all sorts of stuff. I'm like, God, why was I there? What am I doing? I'm wasting so much time. What is wrong with me? Like, that's basically how all of my replay reviews go for myself.
Okay.
But okay, so let's go ahead and head towards this tower taking.
If it actually happens.
If it actually happens. Yeah. And I mean, as the heroes that you're playing right now, basically how your heroes kind of function is that you want to get ahead via pressure, and then you kind of just want to like steamroll down a lane, right? Because you're just like a big mass that takes up damage and also deals damage as you're walking, essentially. Right. So, and both of your heroes together, it's kind of how you work. So when you're behind, the game actually gets pretty rough.
For sure.
Because when you're tanky when you're ahead, but when you're behind, you're like not as tanky. And since your entire purpose in the game is to be tanky, you want to be ahead. So if it feels like a lane is not really kind of allowing you to play the game how you want to play it, you can always look to go to another lane.
Okay.
You maybe want to switch up your build a little bit at this point. Maybe start taking a couple points in Curse of Avernus. Maybe look to go to the top lane and meet up with your other cores, or maybe your Morphling. Basically, like, if a lane that you should win does not go well, then if you're behind, what's the best way to feel stronger? To
go farm?
It's not to go farm. I mean, that's part of it, but it's to be with more people.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Because you have to think of your whole team as a unit, right? So currently you're a unit of 5 heroes. Okay. But if there's 3 heroes in the bottom lane, and there's on one team, there's 3 heroes in the bottom lane on one team, and there's 4 heroes in the bottom lane on the other team, which team is stronger? Probably the team with 4, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're like massively far behind. But yeah, generally speaking, numbers win fights in Dota. And so if it feels like you're kind of behind, you're not really able to accomplish something, maybe you just go, you see one hero mid and you have your Morphling, maybe you just go mid, and then the 3 of you push a tower 3-on-1 or 3-on-2 if they rotate something in.
Okay.
But continuing to like bash your head against the wall over and over and over gets kind of rough, because it's like, okay, well, we weren't winning the lane when we were kind of on even footing, and now that we're behind, we're definitely not going to win the lane, so maybe we need to go somewhere else to then have some more impact, as opposed to just kind of like not having any.
So like, should we just abandon the lane, like leave it entirely, and whatever happens kind of thing? Or
well, if we look at your team, we've got a Morphling. You have to always kind of keep in mind, what is our win condition game? And the win condition for you guys is, it's probably a combination of Morphling and Void getting farm. You guys really don't matter very much, like in the grand scheme of things, as far as like actual victory. I would say what you do matter for is Bristleback, very, very good at tanking a bunch of Invoker spells, very, very good at tanking Omni Slash. Abaddon, really good at saving both Morphling and Void from Tree Root or Cold Snap. So maybe now it's time for the Abaddon to just go play with the Void, play with the Morphling, and then the Bristleback just sits here and keeps the creeps off of the tower.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because you don't want to just give up your tower.
Right.
But if we look at your team, the farm distribution is a little bit weird, because you have 2 like very kind of heavy carries, and then you have 3 sort of like not very heavy carries or heroes that really don't even need that much farm to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Bristleback was something more like a Doom or like a Tide Hunter or an Earthshaker that needs like Blink and Shadowblade and stuff like that, then it would make more sense to just be like, yeah, okay, Abaddon leaves, and then Tide Hunter or Earthshaker sits in the lane and farms the wave over and over and over. But because you're a Bristleback, like, it doesn't really matter whether you get that much farm or not.
Right.
So I think really your job is kind of just to like just sit around here and keep them off the tower.
Okay.
Or since Void is now down here, maybe you just go to the top lane and keep them off of this tower. But we kind of talked about how Bristleback he's very good when he's ahead and when he's tanky, but when he's not tanky, when he's not ahead, he doesn't feel very good. So
Right.
you definitely need to get your Vanguard, so maybe you just take a little bit of like me time. You go have a little spot in the top lane, and you don't go to the jungle. That's the most important thing. Is when you're having a bad game, you don't go to the jungle. You go somewhere else on the map that will help accomplish either keeping a tower alive or pushing a tower. And then you try and get your farm that way.
Okay.
No, that's even something I know I've probably done that before. So
I mean,
Yeah, like-
it's just the natural reaction, right? So it's like,
yeah.
I'm not strong enough to be in lane. I should just go to the jungle where there are no other heroes contesting me, because that's free farm. But what that does is it just gives the other team like an indefinite 4v5 against your team, and they're already ahead, which makes it just worse.
Yeah.
You know, of course, if you're a hero that's gonna win the game, like if you're an alchemist, if you're a Morphling or a Void or a Drow Ranger, somebody that is the actual win condition of your team, then going to the jungle is acceptable. If you're a Terrorblade, then maybe you do need to go to the jungle and get a few items before you can actually show your face. But if you're just a hero that like takes up space and kind of like saves your teammates or something like that, you know, try and leverage that skill to do something that actually like creates some sort of map pressure as opposed to just removing yourself from the game.
Gotcha.
You know, so like if Abaddon's just sitting behind this Morphling can play way more aggressively because he knows he has a save behind him.
Right.
So then maybe Invoker tries to go on the Morphling, Abaddon saves the Morphling, maybe you get a counter kill, suddenly Abaddon gets like 2 levels because this Invoker's 4 levels higher than him, and now you're totally caught up to where you'd like to be.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the Morphling is also able to play more safely. Like right now, he's so scared to even just get any last hits, right?
Yeah.
So your Morphling is now having a shitty game too. And, you know, we have a Lich up here who's literally the least important hero on your team, who just has a free lane to farm. Like, you know, this farm distribution makes 0 sense. Like, unless this Lich is going to go the right-click build and somehow end up with, like, you know, an Assault Cuirass Mjolnir plus like a BKB, there's no way that this Lich should ever be farming this lane. So yeah, I think that Bristleback should go up here. I think that Abaddon should either be down here with the Void, probably be down here with the Void. That makes sense. You know, Morphling shouldn't really die. He's under his tower. Might die, but he shouldn't.
I don't know.
But yeah, right now it's just you have 2 cores sharing farm, sharing experience 3 ways.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like, okay, so maybe somebody TP's in, Void chronos them. What does Bristleback do? He can't do any damage into the Void's chronosphere.
Yeah.
So there's like basically no purpose for you to be with the Void at this point in the game. But does like, oh, thought we were gonna get the tower. Full retreat. Okay, you are buying space for the Morphling, so that's good. It's definitely good, you know, like as long as Morphling's farming, this game feels reasonably good. As long as Void or Morphling is farming. Getting some mid tower, so that's good. It forced 4 rotations to the bottom lane. A shrine up. But then again, it's like Bristle coming back here with Void. Like, Really,
Doesn't make sense.
just go somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think all this time during top, you could have just went top or whatever and gotten.
Yeah.
Right, your
Which
lich,
is
your
fine.
lich is still just farming up here. Like, yeah, this guy's gonna get a dank timing on his force staff, but like, I don't think that wins you the game personally. You know, if this guy was an Earthshaker, this is way more acceptable because
Gotcha.
he gets the blink dagger and suddenly the game changes. But you know, this is a lich that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, three of you hitting the tower, I guess that's fine, but Bristle doesn't really need to be there. And then, I mean, you guys playing a stack together, but it is okay to go do different things from time to time. As far as the Abaddon, I mean, you are mega poor, which sucks. And as a support, this is one thing that I personally have been working on because it was a huge problem in my game for a long time, which is that because I tended to play like a very hard 5 for it. So like if I was playing like a Dazzle or whatever, I'd end up with like Boots Windlace at like 40 minutes because I was doing nothing but buying wards, smokes, and TP scrolls the entire game.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes it's literally just that one item on a support that can completely change your impact in a fight and the entire game. In this game, I don't know necessarily what that item would be. Maybe like a Glimmer Cape, maybe a Solar Crest, maybe something like a Yule's Scepter or a Crimson Guard would be really, really valuable. And so if you can find little bits of farm here and there that are not jungle camps, that's the most important thing, is just do not farm the jungle camps. Unless it is getting you to somewhere or you are like in position to help your team. So for example, if this Void is farming this lane right here and you're farming this camp or this camp, that's much more acceptable than farming this camp
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere when your team is like farther out on the map. Like sometimes you do need to farm a little bit of jungle, but you also need to be like near your team because your job is to empower your teammates to win the game and not get your own farm. So I do like that you're heading up here, but now you're stopping off for some jungle farm. I guess this is okay, but at the same time, like, this guy does have Chronosphere. You could probably be getting this tower together.
Okay.
So instead of farming this jungle camp, maybe all 4 of you just go up here. You force a fight with your Chronosphere and Lich ultimate, which, you know, that doesn't have ultimate. But in theory, like, this combo is very strong.
Yeah.
So if you're able to just kind of be like, okay, guys, let's go take top tower. And you both walk up here, meet up with your Void. Again, your Morphling, totally fine that he's playing alone. It's kind of what the hero does. I should really run on him, kill this guy, but get the kill anyway, it looks like. So perfect. So this rotation is actually very good. This is what you want to be doing. You're letting your Morph do his own thing, and you guys are pressuring a tower, not being in the jungle. So this move is exactly what I would say you should be doing.
Okay.
And you even have the Chronosphere still, so if they want to defend, you guys can probably still win a fight. Then as far as positioning there, good. Dewarding this is perfect. You get your Arcane Boots, which I think is a perfectly good item this game. And now you do have to be a little careful. I would probably not just run away. Like, Bristleback's going over here. This rotation, good. I like this. You know, you're coming over here. They're pressuring the bottom lane. You're going to D-push. But you also have left your Void completely. So somebody needs to stay here with him. Because remember, this guy is arguably the most important hero on your team.
Yeah.
So if Abaddon just comes over here and just kind of like sits in the trees behind him, why is this guy just going in? He's so alone.
Welcome to Archon.
Right? So, I mean, even here, right? So if you're here and you run up and you aphotic shield him, take off the treant root, he gets this kill and probably gets away. I assume he's going to die here. If he doesn't die here, I'd be very surprised. Holy shit. What's happening? Okay, so he does die. Okay. But yeah, so I mean right there, maybe if you're there close enough, you aphotic shield him, he gets the kill and you guys get out.
Yeah.
That's definitely more possible if you're close by. So that's just one thing like that I've definitely had to learn as well. Like it's very easy in pubs to just be like, okay, well my carry is dumb. Why is he dying there? But it's like if you're a support, you kind of got to be there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
it's like what is the other options to win, right?
Right, and you don't have to like if you think that they're being completely stupid and just diving way too far, and like the only way to get to them to save them is to like tank a tower or like run through an entire enemy team, don't go. That's like pretty logical. Like, but if you can just position yourself in a place that is remotely close to them and like able to provide some assistance or heal or save, like it could really be a huge difference in them dying, and it can actually enable your cores to farm and play and try and get kills much more aggressively than if you're not there.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Bristleback getting some farm. This is good. You're starting to catch up a little bit. Switch over to net worth. You're still behind, but that's okay. Your hero. You have your Vanguard. You're going for Crimson next, which I think is a good item. I believe that after this, you should probably get a Lotus Orb.
Okay.
I would say either Lotus or Yule's Scepter is really, really valuable.
Interesting. Okay.
Lotus Orb, obviously, for the Dispel against Treant Root, Cold Snap, the Shadow Poison, and then if you're quick enough, you can even reflect the Omni Slash, and then you just both Omni Slash each other. You could reflect the Disruption. Lots of really good stuff to dispel this game. Yule Scepter, also very, very good item. You could probably honestly just get both of them because the Yule Scepter gives you movement speed. It gives you mana regeneration. Lotus Orb also gives you mana regeneration. Mana regeneration super good on Bristleback. And then the Yule Scepter would allow you to dodge like an Invoker combo. It would allow you to get out of the Tree Root. It would allow you to dodge the Omni Slash. It would allow you to potentially just stop the Ursa. Like he blinks in and rages, you just Yules him, and rage is gone. Like very, very useful item to have in this game.
Interesting. Yeah, that's something I've never built on Bristle too. So that's
yeah. If you look at it here, like Necrophos, Yule Scepter is being built on them a lot, right? Because they run into the middle of the fight. Everybody goes on them, then they Yules themselves, they're alive, then they heal back up to full because that hero's stupid. But Bristleback kind of functions the same way on your team, which is to basically like create chaos and be in the middle of everything, tanking spells, and Yules and Lotus both fit that very, very well.
Gotcha.
Okay, so then you run in and rotation, that's fine. I'd like to see somebody on your team buying some dust. Probably both of you, to be honest.
Okay.
Bristleback's a chaser. You have goo, you run people down. You're against an invoker who has ghost walk, and you're against a tree who's obviously invisible. So having dust is important at this point in the game. It wouldn't have gotten you a kill there, but just it's important to have.
Of course, yeah.
Abaddon also probably just should carry dust because nobody else is going to. For being perfectly honest.
Yeah, usually like if we get burned by it once, then I start buying dust. But like I never really think about it before.
Preemptively.
Yeah.
Again, it's like it's the difference between playing aggressively in lane and playing reactionary, right?
Right.
It's kind of the same scenario where if you just prepared earlier, then oftentimes you don't miss that one kill, and maybe the game just snowballs from there.
Okay.
Okay, so going back to sort of like the rotations, another thing here is because of how strong your save is, like Aphotic Shield's one of the best spells in the game for saving people. Strong Dispel gets rid of basically everything. It's an incredible counter initiation tool. And counter initiation is most effective when you're not showing on them. Because people don't know where you are. So
Okay.
if you are out of vision, and out of vision could literally just be like sitting over here. You know, you're just behind the trees. But if you're always just right in the middle of the mix, you know, running down the lane, then they know exactly where you are all the time. So that means that these two heroes are 100% vulnerable. There's no save.
Okay.
But if you're literally just standing right here while your team pushes this tower, then the other team has no idea whether you're top. They have no idea whether you're mid. They have no idea whether you're bottom. They don't know where you are. And that creates an interesting psychological effect where they're going to be way less likely to go on these heroes if there could be an Abaddon here.
Yeah, okay. I think you mentioned that before in your videos, like with like the Batman stuff and
yeah,
a lot
exactly.
with Pudge and stuff like that. Yeah, like being kind of like, where is he kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
I didn't know he can do that with a support. Kind of like, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's like basically what supports should mostly be doing, is not being in vision.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's whether you're a killing support or whether you're a saving support, you create so much more impact by simply not showing. Also, you know, if you're a hero like a Dazzle or a Silencer or something like this that has a very strong counter initiation tool but is very squishy, then showing is just asking to be killed at the start of every fight. So not only does it make you less or die less and have more impact because of that, but it also makes you have more impact because the other team doesn't know whether they can go on this. You know, if Abaddon's here in the trees, then this gank gets completely turned around.
Right.
But because they see Abaddon here in the mid lane, they know, okay, this Morphling is completely alone now, so we can just dive him under tower.
Okay.
Good save. Cool. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You guys really like playing this combo, but I would say that one of the things that you're doing with this combo is that kind of both need to split up and do other stuff like after the lane stage is over.
Gotcha.
Just because you perform completely different roles. I would say that if you have a better pushing hero, maybe if this Void was a Terrorblade, if this Void was, I don't know, even like I guess PL kind of farms too. But if we just took this lineup and you replace Void with any hero that pushes towers more, Lycan, Terrorblade, Slark, even anything like that, then the four of you kind of running down a lane makes a lot of sense together. But in a lot of cases, like once the lane stage is over, Abaddon should just kind of go be with the hero that is their win condition, allow them to farm aggressively, safe.
And then Bristleback would just be putting pressure on the lanes.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bristleback is really kind of he's bait. That's basically what he does.
Gotcha.
Is he just runs up, he's like, hey, look at me, I'm fat and ugly, like come get me, and then people go on him and they're like, oh shit, this guy has like 25,000 or 2,500 to 3,000 effective HP because of his Bristleback and his items. We actually don't have enough damage, and then Bristleback's team comes in, they're like, haha, you got baited. And then you just like roll over the towers from there.
Gotcha.
But okay, so this is good. Good. That was exactly what Bristleback's supposed to do right there. tank the Omni Slash, bring the Juggernaut all the way under the tier 2 tower, and then right in the middle of his whole team. Okay, so now you guys heal up. And we've got Bristleback in the top lane, going for a Halberd next. I think that item is fine. I think that's definitely a good item against Ursa. It's good against Jug. It's actually pretty good against Evoker. I still think that the Lotus or the Yules is better.
Yeah, for sure.
But I definitely think this is a game where you should be getting Halberd at some point.
Okay.
As far as Abaddon, I think that I really like the idea of Solar Crest this game.
Okay.
Just because it's so good against Juggernaut and Ursa. It also allows you to very easily take Roche at some point because you've got minus armor from Bristleback, got minus armor from Solar Crest. It also does very well with Abaddon because he's a hero that wants to kind of be tanky, even as a support. Makes him tankier, gives him evasion, some mana regeneration, and then if you put a Solar Crest on a Bristleback in the middle of the fight, then how do they kill him? like if you're sitting over here and like all 5 of them go on the Bristleback, and you Aphotic Shield off the Treant route, and then you Solar Crest him, and then you heal him, or all just beating on the Bristleback and he's just running away, and then you heal him again, then you Aphotic Shield him. Like, there's no way that they kill him.
All right.
So it just works very well with your lineup, I think. And I think that this is okay to be farming this camp in particular. Like, you have, your cores over here, so you're pretty close to being in reinforcement range. As soon as you see this guy going, you need to get there. A little unfortunate. Void's not really comboing, synergizing with you guys very well. And just the coordination in general is a little bit wacky, where you just always seem to have the Void and the Morphling in the same place. Bristleback should be running over here immediately or TPing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You have to run because you're done. But once you see this much of a commitment, like, you got to be just heading over here.
Okay.
Just hoof it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, now that Void's dead, now that Abaddon's dead, continue pushing for sure.
Right. Yeah, I do find myself out of position quite often where the team's fighting and I'm not there.
Gotcha. Well, that's really good that you recognize that, because that would be one thing that you can kind of key in on, which is anytime you see your team fighting, just at the very least, just move your camera there. Like,
gotcha.
Can I make a difference if I get there? If the answer is yes, then you just go.
Okay.
No ifs, ands, or buts. You just go. But you have to make that, that's a judgment call. Can I get there in time, and can I have an impact when I get there? Okay, so let's see. All right, so one thing I will say is this is a very, very common thing that happens in pubs, which is that once you get behind as a team, you end up basically just like clumping up in one tiny area of the map.
Yeah.
You notice it's like, okay, so we've got 5 heroes around a total of like 3 jungle camps and a lane. Like, that's not enough farm to sustain your team. So really this Void should just be in the jungle farming right now, because there's no pressure here. He's got all this space. The rest of you should be making space for him, or Morphling should be doing this. And then the rest of you should try to just be playing on like the opposite side of the map from that hero.
Okay.
Now, in a lot of pubs, what's going to happen is that your carry and mid player are both going to decide this game's hard, I need to farm my items. They're both going to go to the jungle together, which creates a really shitty thing where it's like, okay, well, both of our heroes who are strong are refusing to be strong right now. And in that case, you kind of need to just try and get as much as you can. I would just say, you know, everybody buy a TP scroll. Just, you know, you have a ward here. You can see if these camps are pretty free. Got creeps showing in the mid lane. Creeps give you vision. They're basically a ward. Got a ward here. So like really you have control over like this much of the map, probably, right? On the mini map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now if you were to maybe put one more ward like right here on this bounty rune, then that map control goes to like this much. So if both of your, if your carry and your mid laner refuse to not farm this area, then somebody has to go get this farm, because otherwise you're just gonna end up with no farm. And if I remember correctly, we go back to this, like you ended the game Arcane Boots wand at 40 minutes, which I commend you, sir, for, you know, like sticking it out and just buying wards and doing all that stuff. But like, if it just kind of feels like the game is in a stagnant place, like I guess just try and get some farm. You know, you can try and make calls like, hey Void, okay, you've got Chronosphere. Buy a smoke. Like buy a smoke, buy a couple of wards. Say, let's try and get a kill. And then you go smoke. Maybe you put a ward here. Maybe you put a ward here. Maybe you put a ward up here. And you try and get a pick off and get something off of that. Maybe you smoke and you put some wards here, and you try and take Roche. But you know, try and like these two, what the the two most important heroes are literally farming the same camp together. This is unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, so I think that, you know, I don't want to focus on just negative stuff, but this is
good.
This is really good right here, because okay, I know I said Abaddon should be with the Void or the Morphling, but currently the Void and Morphling are not in danger whatsoever. So you should just be with the most vulnerable hero at all times, is really what it comes down to, because you have the save. So Bristleback might sound kind of weird to say that he's the most vulnerable hero, but he's the farthest out. He's nearest the enemy territory. So this positioning makes a lot of sense. I would definitely save the Aphotic Shield in this scenario. I would save the Aphotic Shield for one of two things. Either dispel the Demonic Purge, because this skill destroys Bristleback. Especially if this guy ever gets an Ags, it like ruins the hero. It breaks him. Like a Silver Edge. And so yeah, I would save it for that, and I would save it for, I guess you can't dispel Hex. Can you dispel Hex with the Aphotic Shield? I'm not sure. I know they changed it where Hex was not dispellable by like Slark's Dark Pact, but I don't know if it's just.
I think
not
you just get the shield.
I think you just get the shield
Still hexed, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so I would save Aphotic Shield for Demonic Purge or the Tree Root then. Overgrowth. Or maybe the Slow from Ursa. I think you can be. You don't have to use it like right away, but that also turned out just fine. Guy throws out a Chronosphere. Now you want to be close to the Void so you can help him out. Who did you shoot? Of course, you're shielding your buddy. You're such a good friend, man. Unfortunately, you're not that good of a teammate to the rest of your team.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but I mean, that's fine. But, you know, just remember, like, as far as priority for the shield, it's Morphling, Void, probably even then Lich, and then Bristleback, just because Bristleback's the most survivable out of everybody anyway.
Okay.
But anyway, that's fine. I think your positioning is good. Don't run in now. Don't do that. No, stop it. Based on how you're playing this hero, like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for you to go hit stuff. Like, you know, you're contributing 91 base damage, and that's about it. You know, if you're gonna play Abaddon as sort of like this healer saver, then you should really just be playing him like you would be playing a Dazzle or an Oracle, which is like totally on the back lines.
Okay. It's just I feel like I have this great ult, but I never use it in the back, you know?
Yeah, I mean you know, that's true. That's just kind of part of how you're playing the hero. Maybe you want to switch that up a little bit.
Okay.
You can use the ultimate, you know, to tank a gank, for example. Like Bristleback totally ran in there. Actually go back. I don't want to say that you're playing this hero wrong to play him as a saving support, but if you want to use your ults, you know, okay, so this guy, he gets hexed, he gets gone on here. Once this happens, maybe you just run up here. You just run at this invoker, because why be worried if you have borrowed time up? You might as well just just run up here. Okay, you aphotic shield the void here. And then you just run up here, like, if he meteors you, who cares? You want to tank the Omni Slash, you know?
Okay.
But, you know, just running in here now doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I guess you you split the damage here and pop your ult, so that's, you know, I guess it kind of saves the void. You tank the EMP. Not the best spell to tank because it solves your mana. But if he Omni Slashes and then it goes onto you, then you can just, like, run over here with your ultimate on. Just tank the entire Omni Slash away from your team.
Okay.
But now that you don't have borrowed time, you kind of have to like shift back to playing that Oracle Dazzle style of play, where you just save your team. So it's I think that fight went fine. And I mean, honestly, like, maybe you don't need to feel so bad about using borrowed time or not using it. If you think about it, you're a saving hero that has the ability to also save himself, which is like really, really strong. If Dazzle gets gone on, he either saves himself, team dies, or he saves his team and Dazzle dies. Same with Oracle. But as a Baden, if you get gone on because the other team recognizes that you can save the heroes that they want to kill, then you just borrowed time and you're fine, and then you save your team anyway. So I wouldn't stress about not using this, unless you have an Aghanims, in which case, sure, pop it, run into the middle of everything, because that's how that works. Okay, sorry, we're going very long in this replay. I didn't.
No, this is great.
No, it's great. Yeah,
A lot of information.
Didn't realize how long this was gonna go on this one, but let's just keep on rolling forward. Oh. Roche fight, that's always an important thing. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, spoiler alert, we eventually throw the game. So that would be an important bit to go over, like, where it happened,
okay,
kind of thing.
Yeah, was that a time that you wanted to...
No, like, I don't even know. Like, eventually we start dying and everything. We'll just keep that in mind, kind of thing, and I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, this was never going to be successful because your Void doesn't have Chronosphere yet. But I mean, I guess you going in and dying for the cause is okay. I don't love taking a fight right now. Again, Chronosphere not up. Where is your Morphling? He's not even here. Full Delta Split, run away.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, Invoker's not there, so they don't have a lot of their team fight. So I guess it's actually kind of okay. Like, Bristleback is hella tanky right now. I am curious why you didn't take your health talent for extra goo at level 15.
No, that was probably, I saw the guide and
Okay.
just followed that. But no, that's a good point.
Bad and XP talent, that seems fine. Armor talent next after that. Okay, decent Chronosphere, gonna kill the Ursa. So actually this ended up being a pretty good fight. Fortunately, no dust. I assume that's, you know, kind of where you got burned by it. Hopefully you immediately buy some dust on the courier.
No, I already had it at that point. There was a tree on it before that pieced out, and I bought it then.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't ever buy dust. So that's something that I should start doing.
And you're the one playing the Bristleback, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're ever playing somebody that chases or that initiates, like it's kind of on you to buy the detection because generally you're the farthest in front, so you're the one that's actually going to be able to like catch the invisible heroes. And if he's not buying dust, you just buy an extra dust and you put it in his inventory and you say,
Okay,
use
sure.
this, you asshole. Okay, so yeah, this game is looking pretty rough. Your Morphling is very, very underfarmed. He has very low impact. Your Void is doing fine, other than the fact that he, for some unknown reason, refuses to buy a BKB, even though he's literally been hexed in the Chronosphere every single time he's used it. Somehow he has not recognized that that is a problem, but you know, that's just what happens sometimes. So maybe that's when you buy the Lotus Orb. You're like, okay, my Void doesn't understand that Hex is good against him. You buy the Lotus Orb, you put it on him every time he Chronospheres, and then the Invoker hexes himself. I don't know. I'm a huge proponent of like the practical approach to pubs. Can't count on your team to make good decisions, so sometimes you have to make the good decisions for them, and itemize and play in a way that like fixes the problems that your bad decision-making teammates are creating for you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's
smart.
That's my general thesis on pub Dota is that you can't hate on your teammates. You can't you can't just assume that they're gonna fuck up all the time. But if they are providing you with enough data to where they're not making correct decisions, then you just make the correct decisions for them. And that's why I really like buying stuff like Solar Crest, like Lotus Orb, like these saves, because most people are really good at two things: running at people and dying. And if you can stop them from dying and you can just enable them to run at people and get kills, then a lot of the time you end up just winning the game because the other team is not empowering their teammates to do that. And so you just like, you end up winning this like war of attrition basically. Okay, so we killed the Ursa. Definitely a good fight. Lich gets solo Omni Slash. Love that. Totally doesn't matter at all. Have detection on this guy. So he is maybe gonna go down. Oh, your two cores are chasing this guy instead of killing this guy, which is unfortunate.
Well, I think I dusted him. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but just the fact that there's literally a Juggernaut in the middle of 4 people and they're chasing a Treant Protector.
Oh, yeah, true.
It's just, you know, it's not good target priority.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But anyway, at least you're here. You're tanking a bunch of damage. Try and kill that healing ward for sure if you can.
Come on. Oh, no.
You can do it. Right here, I would also recognize that EMP has been used. Your Void has very low mana. This guy has very low mana. You also have very low mana. You do have Arcane Boots and a Wand, so I would just use both of those right now.
Yeah, that was just a misplay on my part.
Which would then give you access to a Aphotic Shield.
And I'm still not hitting that ward.
Yeah, it's hard in the middle of the chaos, but it's good that we're looking at this, you know, just... Okay. So... You end up healing. Again, still just use your items. There's the wand. Okay. Still running in. This guy went invisible again. Lord, man. Lord.
Oh, I got it.
You got it. Okay, perfect.
It's a miracle.
Perfect. Still want you to use your Arcane Boots.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Nice. Good stuff. As the Bristle, I think that you definitely don't run away from your team. You run back into them.
Oh, okay.
Run back into them because remember, you're the damage soak, so you want them to be hitting you. So yeah, you run back in. Fortunately, you have to run through this ice wall, and your team is like, well, he ran the other way, so see you later. But okay, so that I assume could be a fairly significant turning point, especially because Bristle does not have buyback.
No.
And you're going for Blade Mail, which is good on your hero, but not very good this game. Can you tell me why it's not very good this game?
No, I don't know. Yeah, am I not being focused enough? Is that why, or?
Okay, so it's good against
it's
good against Invoker, right?
Okay.
Blade Mail is good against Invoker. Not very good against Ursa, because when Ursa goes on you, he just enrages and he takes 80% damage reduction. So your Blade Mail basically doesn't do anything. If Juggernaut goes on you, he's Omni Slashing you, and he's invulnerable. So he does. He takes 0 damage from your Blade Mail.
True.
This guy doesn't really do that much damage. This guy not really hitting you. So Blade Mail actually doesn't really do that much return damage this game. When you actually think about it.
Okay, gotcha.
Buy a BKB, boy. Good lord. Okay. Your positioning is definitely good. Still playing on that back line. You do have 1,000 gold right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see, you've got 690 surplus. I would definitely, as a support, every little bit matters. So I would be trying to spend your gold a little bit more if you can.
Okay.
Obviously, in the replay mode, I can't see what's in stock, whether there's wards, smokes, anything like that. But you basically have enough gold for a medallion. You have enough gold for, little bits and pieces of stuff. Like even a buckler would be pretty good. And so, don't be afraid to just kind of buy like incremental little pieces. As a support, a lot of times I'll have some lofty goal of eventually buying a Rod of Atos, for example, and I'll just have a couple bracers in my inventory for like 35 minutes. And then we'll take a big fight and we'll win it because I had an additional like 300 HP because of the bracers. And then suddenly I have enough gold for my Rod of Atos.
Okay, that's cool.
So as a support, you can kind of think of like the little items that build up to the bigger items as resources in and of themselves, because generally speaking, you have way worse stats than most people, and because you have less farm, you also have less survivability. And so like if you were to try and itemize into, and this is a completely different tangent, but if you were to itemize into, say, a Solar Crest, and you're having very hard time getting any farm, if you can just somehow muster up 325 gold to buy the Sage's Mask, that's 0.5 mana regeneration. That's really, really valuable for you.
Okay.
If you can, if you're trying to buy a mechanism at some point, and you can somehow just manage to get the headdress, that's 2 to all attributes and 2 HP regeneration to all allies. Maybe you get the buckler. Now you have this extra armor to everybody and yourself. You don't even have to get the mechanism recipe if you're too poor, but if you have these 2 items, that gives you a decent amount of extra benefit to your team as well as yourself.
Okay.
And neither one of those is all that expensive.
Now, the majority of the game, like the Lich didn't really buy many wards or anything like that. Is it completely fine just me taking over that role kind of thing if he's not buying them and just buy them myself?
Yeah.
As a 4?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not playing the 4 in this game. You're playing the 5 or the 6 based on your farm. And this Lich is just rushing in Ags, which is interesting, but I guess how it is. Yeah, I think, a lot of the time, even as like an offlaner or a carry, if I need a ward somewhere, I'm just going to buy the ward because it's way better to spend 75 gold and not die or be able to push a tower or be able to pick off somebody than to not have that vision and not be able to do things.
Okay.
You do have to be a little careful if you're just like constantly buying wards off cooldown, buying sentries off cooldown. and you never have any gold to progress at all in items, then a lot of times you handicap yourself, which I think you kind of did this game, and it's definitely something that I've done a lot as well playing support. And that's why I think it's like, usually what I do is like, okay, do we have 1 to 2 useful wards on the map? And when I say useful, I mean they secure either important farm for one of our important heroes, or they allow us to be aggressive either for a tower, for Roshan, or for kills. And if we have a couple of wards on the map, even if they're going to time out in like 2 or 3 minutes, you know, I'll spend that next 200 or 300 gold that I get from either passive gold or like a creep here and there on even just like a gauntlet of strength to work towards a bracer. Like just a little bit. So I'm kind of like inching my way towards some items. I think that, you know, as a 4, Spirit Vessel is literally the best item in the game. It's not even close. This is the best item in the entire game as a 4 roll. Does not matter what hero you're playing.
Interesting.
So if you look at the components, right? Okay, earn. Okay, so you buy a couple wards, then maybe you have 150 gold. You're like, all right, you know what? I'll get my circlet, and then I'll get my ring of protection. Now I have an additional couple stats. I've got some armor. Maybe you finish off your earn. Now you have some regeneration for your team. Okay, as you're pushing, maybe you get some passive tower gold because your team pushes the tower. All right, I'll buy a windlace and a couple wards with that 400 gold that I now have. And that way you kind of like inch your way towards some more impactful items while also sustaining the vision on them.
Okay.
Okay, so Bristleback's about to respawn. Chrono coming off cooldown 30 seconds. I think you guys are just kind of have to give up this lane of racks. You don't really have any legitimate form of wave clear, so you can't just like spam them out of your base. And that is one of the biggest problems with your lineup, is that your wave clear and your D push is just non-existent. So yeah, Bristle runs in. It's really your only form of D push is just put your body there, which is not very safe.
For sure.
Running into a healing ward. No, you definitely don't be running and hitting stuff there without borrowed time. And now, you know, okay, so they take Rex. Not the end of the world. You have Morphling, you've got Void. Okay. So yeah, I mean you've got 600 gold. Buyback is on cooldown, so you might as well just spend the 700 gold. Because like, you know, you can't use it for buyback anyway, so why even have it sitting around in your inventory? You know, and you could even just buy some clarity, so you can use mana regeneration passively as you're wandering around the map. Buy some TP scrolls. You don't have a TP scroll, which is really bad at this point in the game. Like, gotta have TP scrolls in your inventory. Buy some sentries, buy some dust. You know, these are all things that are missing from your inventory. You have this gold to spend on it. Again, you could try working towards a solar crest as well by buying some of them. Yeah, this mount is distracting me. Can't follow you. Okay, so you got Lotus Orb queued up. This guy, hate this item. Morphling also does not want to buy BKB for whatever reason. He has a Lincoln Sphere to stop the Hex. But yeah, so this is one thing. I mean, like, I don't know if you saw my most recent video that I put on YouTube about the YSP.
Yeah. I actually showed that as well.
So
yeah, it's a great video.
Thanks, man. This is definitely one of those games where it's like, okay, you have the Void, you got the Morphling. These guys are, in a nutshell, exactly that video. So what can you do to help them play better and have a better game? And you know, the Morphling, it's really just about having saves and control. So like, just itemize towards that. Maybe you're going to be able to gut this one out, just because, you know, they are providing nothing but damage. And that's okay if you guys can allow them to somehow hit the other team. So again, you know, that's kind of why I like the halberd, don't like the blade mail. That's why I would like something like a Lotus or
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, like, I don't think you can ever go wrong buying a Hex. I think it's just the safest item other than BKB that you buy in the game.
Okay.
Where it's just like, well, we've got heroes to deal with that are getting away or dominating fights. Just buy a Hex. Gives you good stats,
Yeah.
gives you mana regeneration, and you can hex the Jug before he's able to spin or ult. You can hex the Invoker so he does no damage in fights. You can hex this guy every time he jumps in. It's a pretty good item on Bristleback. Well, so let's go ahead and see how this puppy ends. It knows. Eggs Lich. I bought a meteor hammer. I don't know, man.
Not the best teammates this game, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. But you know, that's like pubs in a nutshell. So
Of course.
definitely a good game to learn from.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there were so many things that we could have done
Yeah.
throughout the game that could have totally changed the flow.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we go back to that lane stage, like, if you guys crush the Juggernaut in lane, like, maybe even take the tower at, like, 8 minutes, then you take tier 2 at, like, 15 minutes, and suddenly it's an entirely different game. But, okay, so let's see. Last team fight, which I assume is coming up here. Okay, so Tornadoed. Arcane Boot immediately. Get Bristleback some more mana, and I would gonna Aquatic Shield him to get Cold Snap. Good. Interesting. Purge. It purges that automatically. Void just, I assume he's like typing to you or something, telling you how bad you are.
I guess I don't know.
I don't know why he's just sitting here. Hello? Oh. Disconnected.
No, I don't think so. Would it show on the replay?
This definitely looks like a disconnect to me. A lot of times they'll just like stand there and then walk back to fountain, sit there, and then they'll connect them later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it should show the disconnects. But well, if you're good, if this void's disconnected and you guys are end up taking this fight 4-on-5, I mean, not a whole lot to say about that. Like, not much you can really do if this guy's just AFK in the fountain. Oh, he lives. Okay, goes in. He Chronos. He does not kill the healing ward. And GG. Okay, well, you know, you guys didn't have the most synergy in your draft. Very hard for your heroes to function with the Void. Void's not a very good pick based on your heroes. And then both Void and Morphling kind of just like really not on the same page with anybody else on your team. Made the game very difficult. But I think there's a lot of stuff that can take from this game and look to improve on. I definitely think that your positioning in fights, just as if you're gonna play like the support, you know, save Abaddon, just really think about your positioning in fights all the time. Should I be here?
Okay.
Should I be closer? Should I be farther away? It seems like sometimes it's really good and you're playing exactly how you should, and then other times you're just kind of like mindlessly running into the middle of everything, like just trying to right click somebody with no right click damage. And so just like if you find yourself kind of autopiloting through fights, just be like, wait, where should I actually be? Is there somebody that needs a save? Should I be healing somebody? Am I too close to the enemies? Am I too far away from my teammates? Just like kind of ask yourself these questions, and that'll help you actually figure out where you should kind of be throughout the course of an entire team fight. And I know it's super chaotic. It's really hard to actually like keep up with everything that you should be doing. Well, there's so much stuff going on. And so that's one last thing that I wanted to talk about, which you kind of mentioned, is where you sort of like panic sometimes in fights. And the best thing that you can do is just to have like a 2-line plan before you take a fight. Or even just for the entire game. Okay, who is the most important hero on my team? Is it Void? Is it Bristleback? Morphling? Decide that, and then just know that you need to use your spells to save that person. And don't deviate from that. Don't randomly just like run away from that Morphling to heal your Lich. Let your Lich die. And like if you're playing an initiating hero, for example, have a plan. Okay, who do I need to kill on the other team? Who is the most important hero for me to initiate on? In this case, you know, it's probably going to be like the Shadow Demon, going to be the Invoker, one of those two heroes. Because Invoker provides a lot of control and damage. Shadow Demon provides the save. Once those two heroes are out of the way, the other heroes, even though they do a lot more damage than these other heroes, the high damage heroes are going to be much easier kills once the save and the control are out of the way. So if you can kind of like every game that you're playing, before every fight that you take, just be like, I need to target this hero and I need to stay away from this hero. Or I need to approach the fight from this angle, or I need to run away if this happens, or I need to use my spell on this hero, or I need to hold my spell for this spell to be used to counter it. Just kind of think about those like very specific scenarios and keep them in your brain as you go into the fight, because if you have that sort of even small plan in place, then you're going to end up not panicking as much because you've already planned it out.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think you did a video on the plan thing as well. I don't know why I didn't think about that more.
I mean, it's tough, man. Like, you know, this is just habitual stuff. How many games of Dota have you played total in your
A lot.
Too many.
But how many of those games have you played kind of just like on autopilot, like playing Dota to relax after work or school?
Probably
or
lots.
Yeah.
Right, most of them.
Yeah.
And you know, for me that was the same way for a long time, so until I started actually like working in Dota and realized that there's just so much depth and so much stuff that you actually have to think about to actually get better at the game. And with that kind of planning, especially planning in mind, I would challenge you guys to like watch, I don't know if you watch the pro scene or not, but watch the Kuala Lumpur Major and just like look how these guys take fights. It's unbelievable. It's so amazing how well thought out all of their approaches to fights are. Like, if you have a Silencer on one team and an Enigma on the other team, the Silencer will literally never use Global Silence until the Enigma Black Holes. Ever. It'll never happen. In your pubs, who knows? Silencer might even just like accidentally sneeze and press the R button. But in the pro scene, it's like they have the entire fight mapped out in their brain. Like, that's why, you know, an Earthshaker in the pro scene always seems to hit like the 3, 4, 5-man Echo Slams. Because they actually are like, I will not blink in an Echo Slam until there are 4 heroes going on this Phoenix Egg or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's I'm gonna have to start doing that. Checking some of those out.
Cool. Well, sorry we went so long on that one replay. It's been
No, that was
great. Yeah,
man, I took so many notes. This is so much to work on. This is fantastic.
All right, great. Well, do you have any other like final questions or anything about stuff that we talked about or whatever?
No, I'm all good. I've got so much to go over here just as is. So this has been really good.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So let's say we take tier 1 tower, right? Like there's other openings on the map or whatever, right? Like I always get this, like if I'm in another lane or whatever, I always get this like reminder in the back of my head, like even if we were doing well in that lane, if we leave it alone too long, it's gonna like like the carry's gonna come back or something like that and just like roll us all because he's gonna have like free farm basically. So like should there always be someone in that lane, or like how long can we like let it go kind of thing, doing other stuff?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question, and the answer is no. Like, you cannot win all 3 lanes ever. Basically, you're really not supposed to ever win all 3 lanes.
Okay.
If the teams are equally matched, of course. If you outdraft them, if you're just significantly higher skill, then you can win all 3 lanes. But you're really not supposed to win all 3 lanes because you're supposed to be able to dedicate resources to a maximum of 2 lanes to actually win them. And especially once the laning stage finishes, once that tier 1 tower is down, now if you want to try to control the entire map, you have to spread yourself so thin because there's only 5 heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're like a million net worth higher than the other team, like it's just not possible to control the entire map. You're gonna have to give up 1 lane pretty much every single time. But you can combat that sort of like panic that their carry is gonna get free farm and come back and end up winning the game by being active and trying to pressure them even harder. So if you take the tier 1 tower early in 1 lane, then there's basically a flow chart that you follow. Are we strong enough to take another tower? If yes, then you just immediately go do that. You don't go jungle. You don't go like farm ancients. You don't wander around your side of the map. You just immediately go take another tower.
Okay.
Then you ask yourself the same question. Are we strong enough to take another tower? The answer is yes. Then you just immediately go take another tower.
Gotcha.
And if the answer is no, then you say, why aren't we strong enough? Do we not have vision? Do we not have our ultimates? Do we not have HP or mana? Do we not have an Aegis to go high ground? Then you answer that question by, solving for that problem. So if you need mana regeneration, you buy Clarities. You need an Aegis, then you ward up around Rosh, you take Rosh. And once you have that condition met, then you immediately try to take another objective. Like, basically at all times, you should be trying to take objectives. And if you're behind and you can't take objectives, you should still be trying to take objectives by split pushing, by creating, mismatches against the other team, by, putting smoking into the enemy jungle, putting aggressive wards down, having 2 heroes, 1 hero pushing a lane out, another hero sitting behind them. Maybe they TP 1 person back to deal with that, gank them. Suddenly you have a 5-on-4 because that hero is dead. And now you can try and take a 5-on-4 against the team that's stronger than you and is no longer stronger than you because they're missing like 30% of their net worth. Killed some hero that tried to defend their tower.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's like, Dota's super complicated, but it's also very simple. It's very, very flowcharty. Are we stronger than them?
Okay.
Can we take a fight and force an objective? Yes, then do it. If not, why is this condition not being met? Solve that issue, and then, continue forward.
Continue on and repeat. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's all my questions. A lot to take in. It's been very, very helpful. Like, I can't even explain how awesome this has been and how grateful we are.
Good, man.